Alam niyo po, patuloy na mainit ang usapan tungkol dun sa kaka-approve pa lamang na CJ Perez trade dyan po sa PBA. Alam niyo po mga kapatid, ika nga, move on na tayong lahat. Dahil nakapagpasya na po ang liderato ng PBA, si Commissioner Willie Marshall. Gustuhin man natin o hindi po kayo sang-ayon dun sa trade na yon, alam niyo po, tapos na yan. Mahalaga na siguro pag-usapan, patuloy ang diskurso, debate para sa ikabubuti ng PBA. Pero po yung ating pong pag-uusap tungkol dyan ay dapat may halong respeto. Lalong-lalo na ngayon, Pebrero na, love, love, love lang po tayo ngayon pong buwan ng Pebrero. Kaya po sa mga, marami pa akong gusto sabihin tungkol dyan, pero nire-respeto po natin ang desisyon ng PBA. Yan po ay ating institusyon na pinagsilbihan. And definitely, kung ano po ang naging pasya nila, yun po ang ating susundin. Maaaring hindi tayo sumang-ayon, pero ang mahalaga, tapos na po yan at makakapaghanda na ang mga koponan. Hopefully, yung pong mga motibo, mga plano ng mga koponan na na-involved dyan ay matupad at para sa ikabubuti ng ating liga. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat, mga kapatid. Nagbabalik po ang Power and Play ngayon pong Sabado ng umaga. Hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement, Big Boss at Tatag, Big Boss at Tibay at ng Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Gusto po nating batiin ng isang magandang umaga ang lahat po ng ating mga tagapakinig sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM, lalong-lalo na dyan sa Tanawan, Batangas, ang ating kaibigan si Edgar Perez. Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat po dyan sa Batangas, lalawigan ng Batangas. At of course, naimbag na bigat sa ating po mga nanonood sa pamamagitan ng 1PH on Signal TV, dyan naman po sa Baguio City at sa aking paboritong lugar, yung San Esteban, Ilocos Sur. And of course, maayong buntag naman sa lahat po ng ating mga sumusunod sa Facebook ng Power and Play at ng Radyo 5 at of course ng Noli Yala YouTube channel. Diyan po sa Cebu City at sa Davao. Magandang umaga. Marami po tayong tatalakayin ngayong araw pong ito. Nga pala, yung po sumusunod sa aking pamangkin na si Alex Ayala kahapon, medyo minalas tayo. Natalo po siya kay Oksana Selekmeteva sa quarterfinals nung third leg ng Manacor ITF tournament dyan po sa Spain. Alam naman po nyo yung bata, unang-una 15 anyos pa lamang, kapapasok pa lamang sa top 1,000 players ng women's division. Number 3 po siya sa juniors, pero sa women's, nasa loob na po siya ng top 1,000 players. 942 ang kanyang rango. Pagod na rin naman. 3 sunod na linggo at nag-aaral pa yung bata. Pero alam niyo po si Alex, walang aatrasan. Walang inaatrasan, wala pong kinakatakutan. Ganyan ang bata, ganyan ang Pinay. So tuloy-tuloy lamang ang pagtutok natin. Next week, pangako namin, kasama natin si Alex Ayala dito sa ating programa para magbigay ng isang panayam tungkol sa mga kaganapan sa kanyang pagsisimula ng taong 2021. Pinag-uusapan niyang pagod. Alam niyo po, recently, nagpasya rin o nag-iisip na ang NBA na maglagay ng isang all-star game ngayong season na ito. All-star game sa likod po ng pandemya, sa likod ng napakaraming nagkakahawahan dyan sa Amerika at patuloy na mga kanselasyon ng mga laro sa NBA, nag-isip pa ang NBA at yung NBA Players Association na maglaro ng NBA All-Star Game. Yan po ay taon-taong ginaganap sa NBA at napakalaking event yan para sa kalendaryo ng NBA. Ang hirap po ngayon, medyo siyempre sa dami ng kaso, may mga alinlangan yung mga player. At yung pang ibang mga player dyan, nagtatanong, bakit daw gagawin pa yan na napaka sikip na nga ng kanilang schedule. Pagod na rin sila katulad ni Alex, no? Sabi nga nung si De'Aaron Fox, sabi niya, I am being brutally honest. Sabi niya, I think it's stupid. Isipin nyo, sabihin nung isang star player ng Sacramento na itong All-Star Game, kalokohan daw. Medyo katangahan ang dating di ba? Sinasabi ni De'Aaron Fox na hindi dapat laruin. Yan din po ang sentimiento ng 4-time MVP na si LeBron James. Sabi niya, and I quote, "I have zero energy and zero excitement about an All-Star game this year." Kasi sabi niya 71 days lang daw siya nagbakasyon. Pangako daw ng NBA, walang All-Star game, biglang dinagdagan pa ng ganyan ngayong taong ito. So ang ating pong pupulsuhan ngayong araw na to, kasi alam niyo naman, mahihilig tayong lahat. Mahihilig tayong lahat sa pagsusunod sa NBA. In fact, ngayon, ang daming laro sa NBA. Ang ating pong pupulsuhan ngayong araw na ito, dapat bang magsagawa ng All-Star Game ang NBA sa gitna ng COVID-19 pandemic? Ulitin ko po yan, dapat bang magsimula o dapat bang magsagawa ng All-Star Game ngayon pong taon na patuloy ang COVID-19 pandemic? Kung gusto niyo pong makipagtalakayan o magbigay ng inyong kuro-kuro tungkol dyan sa ating pupulsuhan, mag-text lamang sa aming hotline 0949-691-4956 o di kaya mag-post sa aming Facebook page, Power and Play with Com Noli Iyala, o sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. Naku, alam naman natin ang mga Pinoy, ang dami-daming mga kwento tungkol sa NBA. At ngayon, ang ganda ng laban, ang dami. At nagkakadikit-dikit na muli ang mga teams sa team standings. By the way, today, in addition to that, yung pong ating pinupulsuhan, makakasama natin sa ating second hour ang ating mga power guests. Yung pong dalawang papasok sa PBA draft na tila nababanggit na ang mga pangalan, Mikey Williams at Taylor Statham. Sila po ay nakapanayam natin. Mamaya abangan nyo yan. Makakasama din po natin ang isa pang player na nasangkot din sa isang trade. Ito naman ay franchise player at ang na-trade sa kanya ay franchise player din naman. Ang ating po pinag-uusapan ay si Mac Bello na ngayon po ay nasa Meralco Bolts na. So, abangan nyo po yan. Mamaya makakasama natin si Mac Bello. At tayo ay makikichismis. We will check in sa mismong chef de mission ng Philippine delegation sa Tokyo Olympics, si Ginoong Mariano Nonong Araneta. Mamaya po yan. Tingnan natin kung ano ba ang nangyayari sa paghahanda ng ating delegasyon patungo sa Tokyo Olympics. Tayo rin po mamaya, ipapalabas natin yung second part ng ating naging interview kay Miss Akiko Thompson, ang legendary legendary swimmer ng Pilipinas, tungkol sa kanya mga opinion sa darating na Tokyo Olympics. Pero syempre, nagsisimula lagi ang ating palatuntunan sa pamamagitan ng ating Fast Take. At ngayong araw pong ito, mga kaibigan nating suki sa Fast Take ang ating mga kasama. Walang iba kundi ang ating kaibigan mula sa Spin.ph, si Ruben Terrado, at ang ating nagbabalik na Fast Take Queen, yan, ng Philippine Star, si Luisa Morales. Good morning, Ben, at saka magandang umaga, Luisa. Good to have both of you with us again today.
Good morning, Com. Good morning, Luisa.
Good morning, Com. Good morning, Sir Ruben. Nice to be back.
Nakakatuwa. Alright, alam ko na maraming nangyayari ngayon sa larangan ng palakasan. Parating na yung draft, kung ano-ano, may mga laban na mga inaabangan din tayo this year. Of course, ang paghahanda sa Olympics. Pero alam mo, Ruben, I'll throw this question to you. Wala nangyayari sa college sports. No? Ang volleyball, meron ng professional league. Ang football, nagsisimula na rin. May mga lumalaban na tayo. Yung United City, lalaban na yan. Pero ano nangyayari sa volleyball at rather sa college sports? May chance ba sa tingin ninyo? Ikaw, Ruben, matuloy pa ang college sports at all? At ano kayang epekto nito sa ating mga atleta?
Tom, I think sad to say, medyo mahihirapan ng college sports na makabalik until magkaroon ng vaccine, no? Kasi the rules have been cleared ng GAB and PSC na yung mga non-professional sports hindi papayagan. So I think sad to say it will be hard for college sports to come back this year. Pero hopefully nga, yung vaccine dumating na agad-agad para at least yung ating sports mabuhay this year during the pandemic.
Wow, nakakalungkot naman yan. Ano? Kasi alam mo, minsan pag nakakakita ko ng mga litrato nung napakaraming mga tao sa loob ng MOA, ng Araneta, talagang nakakamiss, no? Yung excitement at saka yung buhay ng college sports. At of course, more than that, yung mga atleta natin na nagbuwis din naman ng kanilang pagod, yung mga eskwelahan na nagbigay ng scholarship, ngayon hindi magagamit itong mga manlalarong ito. Luisa, let me ask you naman about Alex, no? Alam ko sinusundan mo naman ang career ni Alex. We've seen her win 2 weeks ago. Last 2 weeks, umabot siya ng quarterfinals. Kagabi, medyo hindi siya pinalad. Pero sa tingin mo ba, maganda ang tinatakbo ng career ni Alex? And how far do you think will she go?
Yeah, definitely, Kong. Nakikita naman natin how competitive she is with some of the top players in the ITF and WTA rankings, and only at 15 years old. You mentioned, Kong, kanina na yun nga, sunod-sunod ang tournament niya. And to see her still fight every match, it's really a good thing to see for her. And I feel like as kapag tuloy-tuloy lang ang development niya and yung mga elite competitions niya, there's no ceiling for Alex, and we're all excited to see what she can do.
Well, napakaganda yung sinabi mo yan, and I'm sure kung nakikinig man ang mga fans ni Alex, ang magulang ni Alex at si Alex mismo, talagang mabubuhayan na ang kanyang career is going very well. Of course, tama ka, sky's the limit para sa ating pinagmamalaking si Alex. Alright, at this point, syempre, simulan na natin ang ating paboritong segment sa Power and Play, ang Fast Take. Again, ito po ay opinyon ng ating mga kaibigan na nasa likod ng balita sa palakasan. Bato-bato sa langit, tamaan, wag magagalit, and of course, walang tama, walang mali dito sa segment na ito. Ang ating unang issue sa Fast Take, alam naman natin na nandito na si Kai Sotto at siya ay pinili niya na maglaro para sa Gilas instead of yung NBA G League team niya na Ignite. Kaya ang ating tanong, ano kaya ang magiging epekto ng Gilas stint sa NBA draft stock ni Kai Sotto? I will begin with you, Ruben. You have 1 minute. Go!
This will be the first time na we will see Kai Sotto in a full game. Last natin nakita siya sa UAAP pa, and I think I expect anxious moments from him na tingin ko magiging tight siya dun sa first game against Korea, and I think he will get this groove naman eventually when he gets those minutes. And para sa akin magandang exposure ito para kay Kai Sotto na makalaban yung mga players from abroad, like especially itong powerhouse na Korean team. It will really be a good test for him at pwede niya mag-gauge kung ano pa yung kailangan niyang gawin. But in terms of improving his draft stock, I don't think it will improve his stock, especially na mahirap na basihan yung yung 3 games lang sa FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Pero for sure, it will really make him improve itong stint niya sa Gilas dito sa FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers.
I cannot agree more, Ruben, kasi ang makakalaban niya sa FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers ay hindi mga pipitsugin. Of course, alam natin sa Indonesia na andyan si Lester Prosper na talagang itutulak si Kai Sotto. Napakalakas, napakagaling. We've seen him play. NBA quality, and of course, well-coached. Andyan si Raiko Toroman. On the other hand, doon naman sa Korea, matagal na nating karibal yan. Kaya andyan pa yung Theo Ratliff, kaya mahihirapan talaga si Kai. Alright, Luisa, same question. Ano kaya ang magiging epekto na ngayon na pinili na ni Kai Sotto na maglaro sa Gilas instead of na NBA G League? May epekto kaya to sa kanyang draft stock ngayong taon na to sa NBA? Luisa, 1 minute. Go!
Yeah, siguro unang-una na lang po, one thing that I hope for Kai is that he'll stay safe and healthy. Kasama na rin po ang the rest of the Gilas squad during the FIBA qualifiers. But I guess what we all want to see is for Kai to perform well. Alam naman natin sa FIBA na marami tayong formidable opponents dyan, especially mga big men. With the likes of Ratliff na and Lester Prosper in his near future. Hopefully makikita natin just how he's grown sa US. And in terms of NBA scouting naman, let's just hope they're watching kasi with the NBA G League bubble and yung Ignite, yung mga prospects doon, parang sa tingin ko, medyo doon nakatingin ngayon ang mga NBA scouts. But let's hope na Kai has already made enough noise for himself na pagtutuunan din siya ng pansin. And let's see if he gets into the mock drafts of some websites.
Very good. Well said. Tama ka dyan, Luisa. I'm hoping na kahit papano nanonood sila. I certainly think na mas marami siya makukuhang kung hindi man minuto, at least touches sa panig ng Gilas rather than sa Ignite. But isa lang ang word ko para kay Kai. Patience. 18, 19 pa lamang yung bata. Huwag siya magmadali. Napakarami pang panahon para mag-improve. Sa akin, sana yung mga handlers niya maging pasensyoso, maghintay ng tamang panahon sa tamang lugar. Alright, pangalawa nating fast take for the morning. Alam natin na nagkaroon na ng kontrata na naibigay kay Greg Slaughter, nagbabalik sa panig ng Barangay Ginebra. Alright, so at alam din naman natin na even without Greg, nagkampiyon ang Ginebra sa Philippine Cup. Kaya po, ang tanong natin sa inyong dalawa ngayon, si Greg Slaughter, balik Ginebra, Gin Kings pa rin ba ang team to beat sa PBA Philippine Cup? Luisa, I will begin with you. 1 minuto. Go!
Obviously, it's nothing but good news for Ginebra ngayon na bumalik na siya. No? Nakita na ng team how he has been able to contribute, I think in his 6 years with them before naman siya mag-hiatus, wala tayo masyadong idea on what Greg was able to do in his year off. Parang hindi masyado na papublicize kung ano yung ginawa niya nung nagpapahinga siya. Pero I think we can expect a better player out of him this time. And I think kaya napakonfirm din kaagad si Coach Tim sa Twitter tungkol dun sa contract ni Greg kasi he was so excited. Obviously a quality big man who has PBA championship experience and nothing can go wrong with that. Tingin ko we won't know just how dangerous yung Gin Kings will be until the draft and yung mga trades kasi hindi pa natin alam yung full power nila. Pero yun, alam naman natin how smart of a coach and decision maker Coach Tim is, and obviously they will be a formidable force.
With or without Greg Slaughter, definitely. Alam naman natin, tama ka, Luisa. Basta team cone, Coach Tim, hindi na pwedeng questionin yan. Laging nandun yan sa ibabaw. All right, same question, same issue. Ruben, ngayon na nagbalik na ng Ginebra si Greg Slaughter, sila pa ba ang team to beat sa Philippine Cup? You have 1 minute. Go.
I still see Ginebra as the team to beat for this Philippine Cup. Greg Slaughter will still be an asset to the team. Kahit ano pang sabihin ng iba. At like Luisa said, medyo hindi ganun ka-publicize yung ginagawa ni Greg except that he has been posting yung mga improvements niya like his outside shooting and the way he moves. Of course, it remains to be seen dun sa actual game but still, Greg will be a presence talaga lalo pa na parating na pabalik na si Junmar Fajardo and Ginebra will have that additional body to guard him. And of course, si Japet Aguilar can slide to a different role on offense and on defense. And I agree with you, Com and Luisa, kahit anong sabihin ng iba rin, nandun pa rin si Coach Tim Cone sa Ginebra and talagang si Coach Tim talaga nagdadala sa Barangay Ginebra. And despite yung improvement ng San Miguel and the other teams, I still see Ginebra as a team to beat this conference.
Alam mo, tamang-tama yung sinabi mo, Ruben, na magbabalik si Junmar Fajardo. Maraming nakalimut na nung huling bubble Philippine Cup, wala si Junmar. Hindi natin tinatanggalan ng credit ang Ginebra. Maybe they would have won it kahit nandun si Junmar. Maybe they would not have. Pero ang ating punto lamang, kailangan may panapat. At sabi nga nila, mahirap turuan ang height. Kaya magandang laban yan, Ginebra at ang super San Miguel Beer team. All right. Our third and final take of the day. Napabalita na maaring ang susunod na katunggali sa loob ng boxing ring, hindi po sa politika, ay ang isang boksingerong nagngangalang Ryan Garcia ni Senador Manny Pacquiao. Ngayon, alam naman natin na si Ryan Garcia, batang-bata pa, na tinawag nga ni Senador Manny to na halos parang anak ko na. Ang tanong, kung sakaling matuloy ang Manny Pacquiao-Ryan Garcia fight, ano kaya ang magiging epekto nito sa mga karir ng dalawang boksingero? I will begin with you, Ruben. 1 minute. Go!
I think itong laban na ni Pacquiao and Garcia, if it happens, positive pa rin naman ang magiging impact nito on both Pacquiao and Garcia. Si Manny marami na napatunayan, pero if he wins against a younger opponent, I think mas lalo pang madadagdagan yung kanyang legacy na kaya niyang talunin yung mga mas batang fighter. And if he loses, hindi naman mawawala din, hindi naman matatarnish yung kanyang legacy since nandun na eh. He has proven himself as one of the greatest. Ngayon naman, para kay Garcia, it will really be something na makakatulong sa kanya, lalo pa undefeated siya. And then, marami pa siyang years ahead of him and even if he loses, marami pang pwedeng mangyari para sa kanya. And this fight will definitely add sa kanyang, kumbaga, yung stock sa pagiging boxer. And of course, big payday for both fighters. And yun naman ang importante sa boxing din minsan. So, yes, it will be a positive impact for their careers.
Wow. Well, alam mo, sabi nung mga huli daw fight ni Manny, medyo bumababa yung pay-per-view at least, no? Alam naman natin na still box office king yan si Senador Manny. Pero with this intriguing fight, maaari na tumabo na naman itong dalawang ito. At, alam naman natin, pag tumabo si Senador Manny, ang nakikinabang ang mga taong bayan. So, alright, Luisa, same question. Sakaling matuloy ang laban na Ryan Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, ngayong taon na to, ano kaya ang magiging epekto nito sa kanilang mga karir bilang mga boksingero? Luisa, 1 minute. Go!
For me, I think mas malaki ang i-gain ng career ni Ryan Garcia dito sa fight na ito, no? Kasi if he gets the win or if he is able to, makasabayan niya si Senador Manny, sobrang laking boost nito to his career na obviously he's still young and for people to see na, kaya niya makipagsabayan with one of the best, arguably one of the best boxers of all time, ano? Yun. At instant stardom ito para sa kanya kung sakaling matalo niya si Senator Manny. And sinabi nga niya na Pacquiao is a legend and he wants the senator to pass the torch to him, di ba? No? As one legend to the next. So obviously, alam niya kung gaano ka-importante itong fight na to sa career niya. Para naman po kay Senator Manny, I think it would just be, further cement himself as a great that he is, di ba? Kasi we've seen his win against Peterman and with a 21-year-old Garcia, makikita na kaya pa makipagsabayan sa mas bata.
Si Manny naman hindi tumatanda eh. Pag tiningnan mo, mukhang batang-bata pa rin. Ang mahalaga lang sa akin, ito lang naman ang akin, no? Ryan Garcia, hindi natin masyadong kilala. I don't know if it will really it will really help Senator Manny, but definitely tama kayo. Pag si Ryan ay natuloy itong laban na to, siya talaga ay magkakaroon ng malaking boost sa kanyang career. But akin, ang importante lang, makita ko maglaro, lumaban uli ang Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it will be a win. But more than that, sana maging ligtas si Manny sa kanyang laban kay Ryan Garcia. All right, Ruben, Luisa, as always, a pleasure having you sa aming show. Ang inyong matatalinong mga takes sa ating mga issue ay siguradong nakapagpasaya sa ating mga tagapakinig at tagapanood. Maraming salamat, Ruben Terrado and Luisa Morales.
Thank you, Kong. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yan po mga kaibigan, ang ating mga kaibigan mula sa sports media, mga taong nasa likod ng balita ng palakasan. Kita naman ninyo, pamula collegiate sports, tennis, lahat ng sport, alam niya mga yan. Kaya diyan kayo makikinig. Hindi sa mga chismoso. Alright mga kaibigan, gusto lang natin batiin ang ating mga maagang nakatutok sa atin. Si J.R. Santos, magandang umaga daw. Virgilio Ramada, Alex Fuentes from Bacolod, si Grace Maris de la Rosa, at si Joseph Veldad. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat, sa inyong maagang pagtutok at mga komentaryo sa Facebook. Alright, at this point, nabanggit ko nga na kamakailan, pumasa na po yung trade ng dalawang kupunan, yung Meralco Bolts at ang Blackwater Elite. Naipasa ng Blackwater Elite ang kanilang star player, franchise player, yung unang pick noong 2016, naging MVP finalist, or rather MVP, finals MVP ng UAAP noong 2015 at naging kampiyon sa UAAP. Si Mac Bello ang pumunta na po sa Meralco Bolts, kapalit si Baser Amer at si Brian Faundo. Well, naabutan po natin si Mac Bello tungkol dyan sa trade na yan. At ito po ang ating panayam. Sa ngayon ay Meralco Bolts player na si Mac Bello. Medyo ayusin natin yung audio. Medyo mukhang may konting problema dyan sa ating studio. Ito pong ating sitwasyon na, ready na ba? Siguro pwede na to, no? Sige, cue natin ulit. Ito po yung ating panayam kay Mac Bello, ang bagong pasa o bagong player ng Meralco Bolts. Matagal na akong tagahanga mo kasi nung nanonood ako ng napakaraming UAAP games, matagal ko nang sinabi sa mga nagtatanong sa akin at mga nakakausap ko na si Mac Bello ang isa sa pinaka ready na sa PBA. Ika nga akmang-akma ang laro. A big man who can shoot outside, merong laro sa loob, may handles at marunong dumipensa. Mac, siguro una kong tatanungin sa'yo, kamusta na ngayon ang kondisyon mo? Do you feel na after all those many years, medyo sa wakas, pwede na uling sumabak ng talagang tuloy-tuloy na sa iyong career na wala ng injury?
Yes, Konoli, no. I work hard every day na maging fit and healthy, na maging injury-free, and lagi kong pinagpipray na yun nga, laging makaiwas sa injury. And talaga namang pinagtatrabahuan ko, and nakatulong din sa akin itong pandemic at the bright side kasi mas mahaba yung recovery and talagang nakapagpahinga ng ayos, nakapag-strengthening. So, pero konting push pa. Konting.
Alam mo, terrific year nung 2019. It was actually a career year para sa iyo, no? When I look at your record, first of all, napakaraming laro in 2019. You played 36 games, career high of 44% from the field. Of course, 12.3 points per game was your career high. Ganon din ang number of rebounds mo at saka ng steals, no? And then of course, dumating yung pandemya, medyo nagsimula ang 2020, meron kang konting injury. Tapos dumating ang pandemya, you played very well. Do you think na yung nawala sa iyo nung unang bahagi ng career mo, nabawi mo na at sa tingin mo ba kaya itong ginawang trade na to ay dahil sa mas maganda na ang pinapakita mo ngayon?
Well, talagang pinagtatrabawan ko lang, Sir Noli, kasi last year talagang all conference, parang natatandaan ko halos every game na lalaro ko. Then wala akong miss na games. Then ayun nga, may konting setback na nagkaroon na ulit ng minor injury. So abang pa-recovery ako, inabot naman ng pandemic. So medyo na-postpone yung recovery ko kasi closed lahat ng mga rehab center, lahat as in closed lahat. So sa ngayon, nakakabawi na and excited ako sa itong upcoming na conference.
Alright, puntahan natin yung trade na naganap. Alam natin na pinahintulutan na, inapprove na ng PBA ang trade mo sa Meralco mula sa Blackwater, kapalit ni Passer Amer na napakagaling na point guard, starting point guard ng Meralco, of course. At of course, dinagdag nila si Brian Faundo. Unang-una, Mac, alam mo ba na iti-trade ka? O kailan mo ba nalaman na ikaw pala ipapunta na ng Meralco?
Sir Nolly, nag-practice pa ako sa Blackwater nung a day before ako ma-trade.
Wow, talaga?
Then, yes, sumali pa ako dun sa small group protocols. Then, pag-uwi ko sa bahay, tinawagan na ako ni Boss Jacob, yung manager namin sa Blackwater. So, as in, wala talagang idea. And kinausap na ako na nagpro-propose na sila ng trade with Meralco. So, unang reaction ko talaga, hindi ko alam yung sasabihin ko kasi first time ko eh. So,
Oo.
oo nga po. And inisip ko na lang na part of PBA life.
Totoo yan. Trabaho yan eh. Kumbaga, meron namang ibang may gusto sa'yo. Pero ang tanong ko sa'yo, Mac, clarify lang ito Hindi ikaw ang humingi ng trade. Hindi mo kahit kailan sinabihan ng Blackwater na i-trade nyo na ako o gusto ko mapunta sa isang matatawag nating contender. Never mong sinabihan sa iyong koponan.
Ito pong sinabi, Sir Nolly, kasi malaking tulong sa akin yung Blackwater kasi sila yung nag-drop sa akin and sa akin ding pamilya. Gusto ko sana na matulungan pa yung team, yung franchise na umangat. And yun nga, bigla ako na-trade. So, thankful pa rin and blessings pa rin para sa akin kasi bilang pro, talagang nagpapasalamat pa rin ako na may trabaho ako.
Alright. Just dadivert lang ako ng konti. Hindi naman ito tungkol sa mga nangyayari sa'yo. At sabi mo nga, hindi ka naman humingi ng trade. Pero sa tingin mo ba, Mac, ikaw ngayon na na-trade ka, narinig natin yung nangyaring trade kay CJ Perez, at marami pang iba dyan, no? Si Stan Hardinger, etc. Sa tingin mo ba, ang isang PBA player ay, lalong-lalo na yung mga talagang matataas na pick, yung mga franchise player na tinatawag, ay may karapatan na, o di kaya ay may rason para humingi ng isang trade mula sa kanilang team na i-trade na lamang sila. Do you think na yun ay isang bagay na pwedeng gawin ng isang franchise player?
Well, depende naman siguro sa player, Sir Nolly, no? Pero
at saka sa trato
kasi
siguro ng team, ano?
Yes po, yes po. Pero karamihan naman ng team dito sa atin sa PBS, magaganda naman yung trato sa mga players. So bihira lang yung sa player dito sa atin na yung nangihingi ng trade mismo.
Yeah. Well, alam natin yan, ginawa ni Vic Manuel yan. Yan ang hinihiling niya sa Alaska ngayon, no? So kaya ako na itanong yan dahil alam natin nangyayari yan, and of course, na-trade nga si CJ Perez. Mabutit sinabi mo na ikaw, never kang humingi ng trade mula sa Blackwater. But, Mac, just going back to your Blackwater stint, no? Alam natin, when you were picked in 2016, kakagaling mo lang ng championship sa FEU. You were the finals MVP, number 1 pick ka overall. Ang daming nagsabi na talagang malaki ang maitutulong mo, may ambag mo sa iyong koponan. How frustrating is it na hindi mo nagawa yon para sa Blackwater? At least, hindi na nakumpleto yung mission mo para sa iyong koponan.
As a player, no, as a winner, sobrang frustrated yung ganun kasi gusto mong tulungan yung team at gusto mong maabot yung gustong marating ng team, and nakaka-frustrate lang na my part na naunahan ako ng injuries, then yun yung masakit sa part ko, Sir Nolly. Pero part of life and kailangan ng hardship ng isang tao para tumibay.
Totoo yan. Lahat ng bagay kailangan may pinagdadaanan kasi sabi nga nila yung tagumpay daw mas masarap pagka meron kang niranasan na paghihirap at hindi lamang ibinigay sa iyo. At alam naman natin na sa mga expansion teams talagang kailangan dumaan yan sa na nagmamatrikula yung mga kuponan na yon, no? Well, now you're going to a contender, Mac. Pag-usapan natin ang pagkaka-trade mo sa Meralco. Very established team. Itong kuponan na to, malakas ang lineup. Ang daming mga high caliber na players, and of course, the organization is top-notch, of course. Ano ang pakiramdam mo ngayon na papunta ka na ng Meralco Bolts?
Right, Sir Nolly, kasi parang panibagong challenge na naman sa akin. Well, parang fresh start ulit. And gustong-gusto ko makatulong sa team kung ano man yung pwede ko maitulong, kung anong kahit anong sabihin ni Coach na makatulong ako sa team na maging fit ako dun sa system na tinatakbo ni Coach Norman.
Okay. In your own estimation, Ma, alam mo naman ang laro mo at nakita mo naman ang Meralco. Alam mo rin naman kung ano ang pinapasukan mo. They have very good players. They have Cliff Hatch. Andyan, of course, si Chris Newsome. Doon sa pwesto mo na andun si Reynel Hugnatan. Andyan si Raymart Jose na FEU din, no? Of course, Alain Maliksi, kung sino-sino pa yan, no? Sa tingin mo, ano ang may tutulong mo dun sa current na lineup nila? Ano ang fini-fill in mo na pangangailangan nila kaya ka nila kinuha mula sa Blackwater?
Well, siguro yung mga nabanggit mo mga players, Sir Nolly, no, gusto ko matuto sa kanila. And siguro yung may tutulong ko sa team at kaya nila ako kinuha is yung two-way player ko. Kaya kung mag-defend ng any position. At kahit anong gustong ipagawa sa ni Coach, gagawin ko para lang makatulong sa team.
Meron ka bang konting regrets o ika nga kalungkutan sa pag-alis ng Blackwater? Alam natin na ngayon pa lang kayo talaga nagkakasamahan ulit ni Coach Nash Racela. And of course, yung mga iba mong kakampi doon, sila Mike Tolomia, etc. But is there any kind of sadness at panghihinayang sa loob mo na ngayon na ikaw na-trade sa Meralco?
May konti, sir, no? Kasi, kapag pasok ni Coach, gusto niyang baguhin yung culture doon sa Blackwater, and gusto ko sana na maging part pa nun na gusto ko pang tagal makasama si Coach, but si Coach kasi kahit nung few days namin hanggang nung pumasok kami sa pro, talagang nakasubaybay sa amin and talagang inaalalayan kami, so alam niya yung mas nakakabuti sa amin, and thankful pa rin ako kay Coach Nas. Sobrang thankful talaga ako para sa kanya.
What are you most looking forward to sa pagpasok mo ng Meralco Bolts, Mac? Alam natin na si Coach Norman Black is a very respected coach. And of course, yung mga kakampi mo, nabanggit ko na. But ano ang hinahanap-hanap mo sa pagpasok mo sa Meralco?
Well, sa system na tinatakbo ni Coach Norman, no, na sobrang discipline team nga sila, Sir Nolly, no? And gusto ko maging part sa ganong sistema nila na kilak sila na bilang defensive team. Kung pag lagi nga namin sila na-scout, yung binibigay nilang points per game sa mga kalaban nila is only 80, 70. So, for me, nasisiyahan ako na maging part sa ganon, na maging isang defensive team.
That's good. Well, alam naman natin na kayang-kaya mo yan. In fact, that is one of your strengths, na kaya mong bumantay from maybe the 2, 3, 4 hanggang 5 position, no? Because of your mobility and of your agility sa perimeter. And when you look at that team, of course, pinag-usapan natin si Coach Norman, anong reaction mo na dati si Coach Norman ay ika nga pinapanood mo lamang sa Ateneo na nakalaban mo sa PBA at ngayon siya na ang magiging coach mo at mentor mo. Ano ang reaction mo? At gusto mo matutunan kay Coach Norman?
Sa totoo lang, Sir Noli, na-excite ako and na-challenge and may konting pressure kasi pag pinapanood ko nga yung highlights ni Coach Norman is talagang unstoppable, no? And gusto kong ano kasi ako mahilig ako makinig. So gusto ko matuto sa kanya. And especially sa mga seniors din ng Meralco kasi kilala naman natin na mas sila Kuya Renel, sobrang veterans na rin sa PBA. So gusto ko talagang matuto from them.
All right. Alam natin when you were in Blackwater, Mac, franchise player ka. Sabi nga natin, ikaw yung inaasahan nila and obviously mas marami kang touches, mas marami kang hawak ng bola, mas maraming plays para sa'yo. Ngayon, napapasok ka sa isang team na napakarami din ng mga stars and of course, meron silang mga inaasahang mga players na nandyan na nauna sa'yo. Are you ready to step back pagdating sa role mo at siguro hindi makakuha ng ganung kasing daming minuto na dati binibigay sa'yo sa Blackwater?
Yes, sir. Anything basta makatulong sa team, kaya kong gawin.
Do you think that itong pagpunta mo ngayon sa Meralco is a boost to your career in terms of, I guess, getting your first championship? Dahil alam naman natin na pareho kayo ng Meralco na naghahanap din ng title sa All-Filipino. But do you think that this is a much quicker way para sa iyo makakuha ng championship rather than ika nga developmental team na binibuild nyo pa dun sa Blackwater?
Well, na-excite ako, sir. And kasi hindi ko pa na-experience yung sa PBA, yung talagang maglaro sa semis and finals, no? So, kasi doon talaga na showcase yung talent under the pressure. So, gusto ko maging part ng ganoon with the Meralco team. And na-excite na ako.
Alright. Pero himayin natin yung sarili mo, no? Alam natin na Meralco gusto magkampiyon and obviously yan din ang goal mo. But personally sa iyo, Mac, ano ang goal mo for this season? In terms of your own game, in terms of your own I guess career, ano ang personal goal mo na gusto mong mangyari at gusto mong paghandaan ngayong taon na to?
Sir Noli, gusto ko kasi na makilala as a winner, no? And well, yung dream ko talaga is for now makapag-champion sa PBA kasi 4 years na rin ako dito. So lahat naman ng pro gustong mag-champion. So with the Meralco team, malaki yung chances ko na makamit yung pangarap ko na yon. And basta gagawin ko na lang yung best ko every game na makatulong sa team at makakuha ng panalo.
Alright, well, maraming aasa niyan and of course maraming nakatutok sa iyong career, no? Ako personally, I'd like to see you injury-free the entire season. Gusto ko makita na finally yung Macbelo na lumilipad, yung Macbelo na sumasapal sa mga tira, yung Macbelo na kayang tumira sa labas at sa loob ay manumbalik para sa Meralco Bulls. Mac, before I let you go, meron ka pang gustong pasalamatan mula sa Blackwater na siguro kahit pa paano ngayon na aalis ka na dyan, malaking nakatulong sa career mo at ngayon sa bagong kabanata ng iyong paglalaro sa PBA.
Yes, Sir Noli. Utang loob ko sa Blackwater kung ano mang meron ako ngayon at sa family ko. Nagpapasalamat ako kina Boss Deo, Boss Siliman, and Boss Jacob. And also to my coaches, no, for the past 4 years ko sa Blackwater, marami ako natutunan sa kanila, sa mga teammates ko na tinuring ko ng mga brothers on and off the court. Sobrang thankful ako sa kanila. And also sa Blackwater Elite fans na talagang sumusuporta at laging nandyan. Ayun. And also to my family, Sir Noli, no?
Yes.
Thank you kasi lagi lang sila nasa tabi ko sumusuporta. And
Yan po mga kaibigan, si Mac Bello ang bagong salta sa Meralco Bulls. Hopefully, ang akin lang panalangin ay maging injury-free si Mac sa kanyang career, lalong-lalo na doon sa kanyang tuhod na sana'y gumaling na para makita natin talaga ang tunay na Mac Bello. Alright, at this point, we will take a quick break. Sa amin pong pagbabalik, mapakapanayam natin ang chef de mission ng Philippine Delegation patungo sa Tokyo Olympics, si Ginoong Mariano Nonong Araneta. Ang oras po natin, alas 8:46 ng umaga. Magbabalik pa po ang Power and Play. Nagbabalik po tayo sa Power and Play. Paalala nga ang ating pong pinupulsuhan ngayong araw na to. Sang-ayon ba kayo na magkaroon ng NBA All-Star Game sa likod ng napakaraming kaso ng pandemya and of course ng kapaguran ng mga players ng NBA plus yung pag-object ng mga star players katulad ni LeBron James. Pulsuhan po natin yan. At this point, balikan muna natin ang best moments sa kasaysayan ng palakasan this week in sports history. February 1, 1984 o 37 years na ang nakalilipas nang umupo bilang bagong commissioner ng NBA si David Stern. Ang abogado na si Stern ay halos 2 dekada ng empleyado ng NBA bago siya itinanghal na commissioner noong 1984. Sa kanyang unang pagpasok bilang commissioner, maraming financial at public relations problems ang liga. Pero sa kanyang pagpupursige, pinangunahan ni Stern ang pag-angat ng NBA sa kasalukuyang antas na nito ngayon, isang global sports powerhouse. Si Stern ang longest-serving NBA commissioner na nalbihan siya sa loob ng 3 dekada. Pumanaw si Stern nitong nakaraang taon sa edad na 77 dahil sa brain hemorrhage. David Stern, ang NBA Commissioner this week in sports history. Nakakatuwa yan. Alam mo, I met David Stern nung pong termino ko. I was fortunate na naimbita sa isang NBA Finals game noong 2006 ng Miami Heat. Nandun tayo sa Miami and I was able to meet Commissioner David Stern at iba talaga yung his charisma and of course yung kanyang wisdom ay pambihira po. Kaya saludo tayo dyan sa Commissioner David Stern. Pagbati lang gusto ko nga palang batiin ng isang congratulations yung pong grupo ng De Novo mula sa Xavier School. Kagabi nagkaroon sila ng online benefit concert para sa mga maintenance people ng kanilang paaralan at tayo ay nagpapasalamat na ang ating nagkaroon po ng napakaraming suporta. Congratulations De Novo, lalong-lalo na dun sa tinatawag na magaling na presidente nila na singer, yung si Fabio Ayala. Anak ko po yun. At saka, yung isa pa nating kaibigan dyan, si JC, si JC De Luna, anak ng ating kaibigan si Chris at si Dr. Judy Ann. Congratulations, De Novo. Alright, at this point, ready na po ang ating susunod na magiging guest. Siya po ay Pangulo ng Football Federation ng Pilipinas, pero siya rin po ay itinanghal o inappoint bilang chef de mission ng Philippine delegation patungo ng Tokyo Olympics ngayon pong taon na ito. Actually, isang taon nang naantala yan. Kaya tingnan natin kung ano mga plano ngayon ni Mr. Mariano Nonong Araneta. Good morning, Nonong.
Good morning, Noli.
Ay, good to see you.
Viewers and listeners. Yeah.
Maraming salamat sa pagpapaunlak ngayong maaga pa ngayong Sabado. Nong, I'll go straight to the point. Well, before I ask that, isang taon ka nang na-appoint. Actually, around this time ka last year nang na-appoint as a chef de mission. Hindi ka ba naiinip na isang taon na na-postpone pa yung Olympics?
Siyempre, nakakainip na, lalo na mga athletes.
Oo nga. And of course, siyempre, ang paghahanda. Alright, let me go straight to the point, Nong. Anong latest sa Tokyo Olympics? Meron na bang balita? Kasi alam natin na nagkaroon ng haka-haka na baka daw ma-postpone pa. But what is the latest from your end?
Tuloy talaga, no? And as a matter of fact, we'll have a briefing on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yung mga lahat ng CDM, no? Meron kaming briefing from the organizing committee. So, that will be in the afternoon of Tuesday. So, malalaman namin kung ano talagang yung mga dapat pang gawin, no? And they came up with a playbook for the officers. Hindi ko pa masyadong nababasa. Those are parang guidelines for the officials.
Alright.
No?
So lahat ito virtual. Well, hindi kagaya nung araw na kayo nagkikita-kita.
Virtual lahat yun, virtual, by Zoom.
Lahat virtual. Alright. So, right now, ang balita, walang rason para i-cancela ang Olympics. Bagamat may mga pagtaas din ng kaso dyan sa Japan. But, Mr. Nonong, ano kaya ang mga pagbabago? What kind of changes do you see ang siguro inevitable dito sa Olympics? Kalimbawa, kayo ba ay meron na bang pagbabago sa dami ng mga laro ng mga sports? Is there such a sense from the International Olympic Committee?
Wala pa rin pagbabago dun sa number of sports, no? Even sa number of athletes para to qualify, wala pa rin pagbabago. Mm-hmm. Ang mga pagbabago lang siguro is nawawala yung the training before the Olympics, di ba? Dapat meron kayong doon kasi you have to be there in advance to acclimatize. Siyempre, baka yun ang pagbabago, and then yung going to the venues in terms of practicing. Kasi ang parang inaay nila ngayon yung parang bubble dun sa Olympic Village, no?
Okay.
So that limited talaga ang movement ng mga officials and athletes, no? Mm-hmm. So it will be for me parang logistics nightmare yan, di ba? Mm-hmm. Imagine you move the athletes na hindi sabay-sabay na in a bubble. Mm-hmm. So yun ang parang magiging problema siguro pag hindi pa rin na yung vaccine na ito or hindi bumaba ang cases.
All right. So more or less para ang nakikita dito, Nonong, is it will be in a bubble, ganyan ang magiging laro. So Meron na bang testing protocols na napag-usapan ang IOCs with the CDMs?
Yun nga, sa briefing namin siguro sa Tuesday, ilalatag yun. But at the moment, yun nga vaccine is advisable but not mandatory at this point, yun sinasabi nila.
Okay.
And of course, we have to comply with the Japanese government regulations as far as their immigrations are concerned. You know.
What about spectators? No. Do you think
Wala pa siguro.
hindi ito magkakaroon ng tao sa mga venues?
Limited siguro, Noli.
Alright.
Limited, you know, not
Okay.
like before na talagang, you know.
Alam naman
thousand-
natin, pagka mga Olympics, masaya dahil ang mga tao may mga pins, di ba? Nagpapalitan ng pins yan. Yan ang tradisyon sa Olympics. Kaya masayang-masaya. Iba't ibang bansa yung nariyan, mga turista na nanonood din ng Olympics. So that's, yun ang mga inevitable changes dahil dito sa ating pandemya. Let's go to the athletes, Nonong. Last year, you were quoted as saying you wanted more athletes this year sa Tokyo Olympics. Are you still confident na madadagdagan ang ating hanay ng mga atleta na papunta ng Tokyo?
Of course, we already have 4 that are qualified, di ba? Meron pa rin namang mga iba na on the verge of qualifying, like sa golf natin, dalawa, si Yuki Saso at saka si Bianca. Even si Heidelin hindi pa nga counted dun sa 4 So 5. And, meron man naman tayong mga let's say like Marge Didal of skateboarding, which has a good chance of qualifying. And sa judo naman si Watanabe. I think in terms of sa continental, parang sabi nga ni Dave Carter noon qualified na siya. But wala pang official, no? Pero marami pa rin ang nag-try to qualify. Actually, sa boxing, no? Marami pa rin, no? Si ST, no? Andyan pa rin, sina Roger Landon. Andyan pa rin naman sila na that have good chances of qualifying. Andyan sila ngayon sa bubble sa Inspire.
Yun nga.
We have boxers, we have taekwondo, and we have karate. Yeah.
All right. And as a chef de mission, no, just para lang maliwanagan ng mga tao, anong role mo sa pagtulong dito sa mga atletang ito?
Of course, lahat naman ng mga requirements nila dumadaan muna sa akin, no, for my endorsement. And kung okay naman yung to endorse, then I endorse it to POC and PSC for funding.
Okay.
And kung ano man mga problema and then I kung ano yung mga bagong patakaran sa Olympics, sa NOC, sa local organizing committees, then I have to to disseminate it to them, to cascade it to them. Kasi syempre dapat dun sa training pa lang alam na nila kung what do you expect pag mag-qualify, parang gano'n.
You were also quoted in the past saying na this is our best chance to gain a medal itong Tokyo Olympics. Malakas pa rin ba ang chance natin in your estimation? And of course, ano kayang sports ang pwedeng maging at the forefront ng paghahanap natin ng elusive na gold medal para sa Pilipinas?
Sa akin, of course, there's Kaloy Yulo who is still training up to now, training in Japan, no? Hindi naman naantala yung training niya. So that's a plus factor for Kaloy. And si Yumer now is in, di ba, California. He's training there also. He actually had a professional fight. So tuloy-tuloy ang training niya, no? Hindi na antala. EJ also is training in Italy. He's in the top 5 of sa Paul Volcha. So ito, si Heidelin is also training in Malaysia.
Yes.
Tuloy-tuloy yung training ng yun ang mga Olympic medalist natin na hopefuls, no? And na malaking tsansa. And of course, Yuka and Bianca. Who are in the thick of the fight sa golf, no? Yung kanilang tandem, which has proven na maganda naman yung tandem nila sa Asian Games, nag-gold sila. So hopefully sa Olympics may chance sila. So yung mga
yan ang gusto ko sa iyo kaya maganda kang chef de mission Nonong kasi very positive ang dating at ako ngayon lang natutuwa na ako parang lahat ito mag-gold.
Kasi hindi naman antala yung training mo sa labas hindi ba? Ang problema are the boxers here or the athletes here na dito sa loob ng Philippines kasi nagsisimula pa lang kami ng training uli, di ba? Kasi simula pa lang fencing nga kay Mayor Goma na magbababol siya doon sa Ormoc. So yung surf nga kay Dr. Canlas, ngayon pa lang sila nag-request na pwede, meron pa kami mga qualification, pwede bang isama uli kami doon sa athletes para sa Olympic pools, no? So ang rowing andito, tuloy-tuloy. Ang problema naman natin dito sa mga ibang sports natin, yung mga coaches naman nila hindi makapunta rito kasi may like rowing, they have a foreign coach. Yung karate, they have foreign coach. So
nahihirapan pa.
Yun nahihirapan, no? But nevertheless, ano naman yung mga athletes bigay naman sila lahat Talagang kumakati na para mag-compete.
Sino ba naman hindi? Isang taon din nawala yan. Kaya nga tawag daw dito sa Olympics 2020+1. Napag-usapan mo kanina yung budget. Anong estimation nyo in terms of the budget na ilalaan para sa Tokyo Olympics? More or less, magkano kaya? And ito ba ay naisumite na?
Training and participating in the Olympics, we submitted about 130 million peso budget, no? Which was approved naman by PSC, no? So I think it's part of dun sa ina nila sa Kongreso supportive naman yung mga congressmen regarding that budget also.
Dapat lang dahil ito ay para sa bayan. Finally, meron na ba tayong outfitter? Have you chosen kung sino ang magiging official outfitter ng Philippine team?
Ako hindi ko inoli kasi sabi ko sa POC, baka may sponsor kayo, di ba? So yun ang susundin namin. O kaya sa PSC, you know. Ako nagsasubmit na ako sa kanila mga requirements, ilan yung tracksuits, ilan yung ganyan, no. But in terms of the sponsors, hindi ko na pinapakailaman yan
Okay. Talagang dapat nakatutok na lang sa pagpapanalo ng bintong medalya. Kahit naman sino isuotin naman diyan mananalo din naman yan at mananalo kung kahit anong nakasuot dyan basta magaling ang training.
Ang hirap lang ngayon ng sitwasyon, Noli, kasi hindi mo mapuntahan yung mga training mga athletes you know, you have
Correct.
to unlike before na pwede kang pumunta sa kung saan sila nagtitraining, kung kumustahin sila, para dito lang o gano'n. Yun ang
Well, you have a lot of work ahead of you, Mr. Araneta. Alam natin na napakahalaga ng posisyon na yan at patuloy na aming tututukan, and of course babalikan ka namin as palapit na ang Tokyo Olympics. Siguro last message mo na lang, Nonong, sa mga Pinoy, mga Pilipino na sports fans na of course maasa na kahit papano talagang palaban ng Team Pilipinas sa Tokyo Olympics.
Well, we need the prayers, no, na sana, you know, na tuloy-tuloy ang ensayo ng ating mga players na without any cases of COVID or ganon injuries, para at least ready sila dun sa competitions, you know. We need all the prayers for the Philippines to snatch the first gold in the Olympics.
And we are all praying for that. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Nonong Araneta, chef de mission ng Philippine team sa Tokyo Olympics. Maraming salamat, Nong.
Good weekend, Noli.
Happy weekend. Yan po mga kaibigan ng ating kaibigan si Nonong Araneta, ang chef de mission mismo ng Philippine team sa Tokyo Olympics. Nako, talaga namang magdarasal tayo. Best chance na ang Pilipinas finally makakuha ng elusive gold medal after ilang taon na ba tayong lumalaban dyan, ha? Pacheck ko nga, Gab, kung ilang taon na tayong lumalaban sa Olympics. 19, parang Athens pa lang. Alright, at this point mga kaibigan, gusto lang po natin magpasalamat sa ating mga sponsors natin. Of course, marami po salamat sa Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa Tatag, Big Boss sa Tibay. Nandito na ang Big Boss Cement. Di basta matitibag, approved sa kalikasan at sobrang abot kaya. Big Boss Cement is the first eco-friendly cement company in the Philippines. First and only cement that is produced with low to 0% of high carbon footprint materials. Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa Tatag, Big Boss sa Tibay. Maraming salamat kay Engineer Gilbert Cruz, ang presidente at Chief Company Innovator. Marami din po salamat sa Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Sa ganitong pabago-bago ng panahon ng mga kababayan, sobrang init tapos biglang uulan, kailangan natin ng matibay at protektadong bubong. Dapat ang bubong ay yerong may aluminum. Kapag may aluminum, tiyak na pangmatagalan. At isa lang ang alam kong dekalidad na yerong may aluminum. Yan ang Cherry Loom. Tibay protektado sa pangmatagalang yero. Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum maraming salamat po kay Ginoong Elmer Ngo, ang ating kaibigan na patuloy na sumusuporta sa sports. Katubang din natin ang Elms Kapihan Bar, Elms Resto Bar Group, ang home of Native Itik, ay bukas na po sa kanilang mga branches sa Kapitolyo Pasig, Sakali Bistro, Commonwealth, Quezon City, Robinsons Novaliches at Poblacion Makati. Yan po ay may libre silang delivery, and of course, kung gusto nyo ng masasarap na mga almusal, tanghalian, hapunan, Elms Resto Bar Group, Elms Kapihan and Winery. And of course, nagpapasalamat din tayo sa Joyride, ang bago nyong kasundo. Ang Joyride po ay nagsisimula na ang motorcycle taxi service at of course ang kanilang delivery service. Mabilis, mura at mapagkakatiwalaan na delivery. Dito na kayo sa subok na. Download the latest Joyride and Happy Move app now. Marami din po salamat of course sa Maquillage Professional School of Makeup Artistry, ang ating pong official makeup ng Power and Play. And of course, thank you to Skin, Your Face and Body Anti-Aging Center na may branches po sa Wilson Street sa San Juan City at sa Alabang Town Center sa Muntinlupa. Kung kailangan nyo pong magpakonsulta sa inyong mga skincare needs, tumawag lamang sa 0917-890-1640. Hanapin nyo si Dr. G. Sarmiento at si Doc Richie Sarmiento. At maraming salamat sa Skin, Your Face and Body Anti-Aging Center. At this point, gusto ko na magbasa ng konti nating mga nagbigay ng kanilang kuro-kuro sa ating pinupulsuhan ngayon pong umagang ito. Yung pong tanong natin kung dapat ba ay ituloy yung All-Star Game sa NBA ngayon na kasagsagan pa rin ng pandemya sa Amerika. Sabi ni Nerwin Santos, good morning, Power and Play, Comnoli. Tingin ko po, wag na mag-NBA All-Star this year. Yun naman ang original plan kasi masyadong unfair sa mga teams na ano ba to? Umabot na deep sa bubble last season. Tight rin ang schedule ng NBA season ngayon. Need mag-rest ng mga players. Let's go Lakers! Kung pwede skills challenge na lang like slam dunk and 3 points. Magandang magandang idea yan. Skills challenge, pwede na rin. Kahit na virtual na lang, pwede na yan, Mula naman kay Francisco Garcia, dapat magsagawa ng All-Star Game ang NBA sa gitna ng pandemya. Ito, malaking fan siguro to ng mga stars. Kasi bihira rin makita yung mga stars na magkakasama. Mula naman kay Tonyo Velasco, hindi na dapat kailangan ng All-Star Game sa NBA. Kailangan naman ng pahinga ng mga coaches at players. Yan din ang sentimiento ni LeBron James at saka ni Aaron Fox. Kailangan daw nila ng konting pahinga. Marami po tayo mga pupulsuhan at yung mga opinion nyo mamaya. Kung meron pa tayong oras, babasahin po natin lahat yan. Alright, at this point mga kaibigan, amin pong muling ibabalik ang ating panayam kasama ng ating Philippine swimming queen na si Miss Akiko Thompson tungkol sa kanyang mga payo sa ating mga atleta patungo ng Tokyo Olympics. Ito po muli si Miss Akiko Thompson.
Who participated in 3 Olympics in Seoul, in Barcelona, and in Atlanta. And, obviously, there were many sacrifices that came along the way. And, as a 13, 14-year-old kid who, just barely discovering the world, how did you manage to, stay focused and despite all of those sacrifices? And what kind of sacrifices, what kind of things did you give up just to prepare for the Olympics?
Well, you don't have a life outside of your training. Really, parang siyang it's work. Everything really revolves, and you're training twice a day for 3 hours each session, and so a lot of, for a typical kid that makes lakwatsa or goes out, you don't have the liberty to stay up late and blah blah blah. But when I was in my junior year of high school, the TOC sent Eric Buhayan and myself to the U.S. to train. Yeah, it was supposed to be just for the summer, Pero the program was going so well that they asked if we could stay for a whole year, and so as a result, I ended up living with a foster family for my senior year of high school. I finished high school in the U.S. I didn't know anyone. I didn't go, I didn't even go to my prom. But wala akong kilala, and so it in that sense, it's really a big sacrifice, being away from your home,
Right.
and everything
Right.
that's familiar to you. But I just thank God that I was able to realize. When I went to the U.S., I felt like the government was sending me on a mission, and I just had to do the best possible job I could do. And I realized, by the grace of God, I realized that these are such once in a lifetime opportunities, and so
Right.
I guess that's how I was able to make the sacrifices that were required of me. But
Was
it was
there?
hard.
Was there? It was really hard. I can imagine. Just trying to reach a goal locally is already difficult. Olympics pa iba yung level nun.
Yeah, swimming's a lonely sport.
Obviously, you're not talking to anyone. You don't see anyone. You're just focusing on the water. Ay, nako. Anyway, you went to 3 Olympics. Was there a difference from Seoul to Barcelona to Atlanta in terms of how you prepared, and I guess the pressure of going to the Olympics?
Yes. Yes. Barcelona was probably my best games. I was a flat short in the semifinals. That was really, so focused. Really intense training for that. Atlanta naman, because when I went to college, I swam at Cal. I was, I swam for the school. But somewhere in my collegiate years, I was getting really burnt out, and I actually wanted to quit. But fortunately, I spoke to my coaches, I spoke to my parents, and we made some adjustments in my training, and I stayed on. And as a result, I co-captained my senior year of college, and I finished my career at the Atlanta Games. But for me, the Atlanta Games, the victory, the silver lining there was, I rediscovered the sense of joy and fun and passion that I lost along the way.
Nice.
After, 15, 16 years of swimming, I was really, parang
Burned out.
ayoko na.
Oh,
Burned out.
Oh.
And so I was just grateful that when I after the games in Atlanta, I was retiring, still very much passionate about the sport. But I knew it was time for me to move on.
I asked this to Ral, and I asked him about the fears that you athletes, Olympic bound athletes have, because obviously all of us have images of the Olympics, how ibang level yan, ibang mundo, when you swim against I guess the world's greatest athletes, the world's greatest swimmers, may mga takot sa loob natin, as you go there. What kind of fears did you conquer, and was it already pagdating mo nung second, third, was it still the same feeling, or wala na yan, baliwala na yan?
No, it's never baliwala. The magnitude will always be the magnitude, and there will always be these greats, Matt Biondi, all these, But I think, Nolly, I think sports really trains you, and it doesn't happen overnight, but gradually you learn, you get accustomed to the nerves, and you learn how to contain it and use that energy in a very focused way so that you don't get derailed, because you will always be nervous in when you're on a ready bench about to swim. All the swimmers are there, they're just trying to get psyched out, and you do, everyone has their own routine how they do it, but it's I guess there's a sense of mastery of how you just train yourself to stay focused.
Well, years later, you reminisce on your Olympic days, on your swimming days, on what they call the good old days. But obviously we have a lot of takeaways. Marami tayong natutunan based on our experiences. And if you look back, what are the biggest takeaways that you have from your Olympic experience that up to this day you still apply in your life?
Well, I think the whole sense of discipline and sacrifice is something that really stays with you, just because all throughout the journey, there's so many sacrifices you continue to make in greater levels as you go further on. So that, I still am very disciplined about, my, just having a balanced life and making sure I'm not compensating one for the other. But also, one thing that I really learned in a painful way when I was an athlete was just that you're not going to be able to please everyone, and you realize why you're swimming, why you're competing, and who you're swimming for, because so many people have so many different expectations of you, and you're not going to be able to meet them all. And so for me, the realization was I can only expect to go out there and do my best possible job, and that's going to be more than enough.
All right, Kiko, any regrets in your preparations for the Olympics, in your Olympic experience? Dapat nagpakuha ako ng picture dito sa ganito. Any regrets?
I tend to not like to dwell on the regrets, but yeah, now that you say that, I mean, stop. I shouldn't have been so mahiyain. All these marks,
Oh my God.
Just go up to them, and just, Ben, Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson.
Oh my goodness. Well, when we're talking about the Olympics, it's an Olympic year. Any advice for our athletes that are Olympic bound, especially now that they're a few months away from the actual Olympics, and things that you may have remembered that you were doing at this time, just before you actually got into serious things?
I get so, when I think about it, because they're so close. They're so close. Ang lapit-lapit na, and I just want to just tell them, continue to stay focused and really enjoy the process, because you know what? You soon find out that your career as an athlete is very short, and you're not going to be going down this path again. And so be all there, and just, you don't want to end with regrets. And so just keep your eye on the goal, really. Keep your eye on the goal and just block everything else out.
Nice. Very well said. Before I let you go, I have two questions that it's a little off from swimming, but it relates to you as a person. As you said earlier, you were naturalized, almost an overnight naturalization by presidential decree. And of course, you've become one of the Philippines' most treasured and cherished athletes of all time. And do you think this path of naturalization, we're doing it now in basketball, that's the most popular. We also have plans, of course, for other sports. Do you think this is a path that Philippine sports should continue and maybe help our development in terms of the Olympics?
I think every story is unique, and you have to really take that into consideration. Noli, we moved to the Philippines when I was 6 months old.
Correct. Yeah. It's not as if you just got here, no? Tama.
This is it. I embrace and I acknowledge all the different parts of me, especially my mom being a survivor of the atomic bomb. Yeah. But really, culturally, I know that I'm very Filipino, mostly Filipino.
You are Filipino.
I know, but I say that because I'm an Ascal. I'm halo-halo, diba? There's so many different aspects of me, but I really feel I am more. I mean, that's why, yeah. And I've always felt that God has a purpose for me. Noli, my brother and sister also tried to become Filipino. They're athletes as well, but it didn't work out for them. And
I read, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so I've always felt that God must have a reason and a purpose. And yeah, even for my siblings, I have to say, Philippines is home for us.
Well,
it'll always be.
Tama yung sinabi mo, Kiko. It's kanya-kanya. It's a case-to-case. But I guess, we shouldn't close our eyes to athletes who embrace our country, who are really from, they belong here and they feel like a Filipino. May iba naman yun dun sa mga mercenaries na mercenary attitude ng mga naturalized athletes. No, I guess kanya-kanya yan. And of course, before I let you go, you were the Cinderella, the darling of Philippine sports during that time. And, you know, all eyes were on you. Obviously, the media treated you specially. And there was also pressure on you to be the face of sports. What can you advise people like Alex Ayala, who is my niece, who from our discussion, you know personally in terms of her parents. What can you advise her on how to deal with, you know, the media, all this spotlight and popularity?
It's hard. That's a hard, very hard thing to navigate. But I have to say, give it to the parents. I feel like they're doing a very good job of kind of, you know, it's the role of the parents and the coach to kind of shield the athletes from that. You know, especially, I mean, you don't want to isolate the media. The media, you know, they have their place also, but you also, especially at the right time, I think, because, you know, it can be very, especially when it's a young athlete, it can have a big effect, demoralizing, you know, what people write about you. And so I think that shielding of her, especially now that she's young, but, you know, as she gets older, I think they're going to want to be hearing more of her voice and her, you know, and I think at the right time it will come out, but you kind of have to almost, in one ear, out the other, almost. Sometimes, especially if you have a big competition coming up, you can't even be bothered by that. You know, just focus on the game. Who cares? Let your mat speak.
Right. In her case, let her tennis racket speak. And in your case,
Exactly.
it has been a magnificent career for us. Just watching you and representing the Philippines with pride. And we're truly happy to have an Akiko Thompson in the history books in sports for the Philippines. Maraming salamat, Akiko. Really,
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure having you on the show.
Likewise. Thanks, maraming salamat.
The most bemedaled swimmer ng Pilipinas, mga kaibigan, Akiko Thompson Guevara sa power and play. Ang ganda na kanyang mga sinabi tungkol sa Olympics, sa kanyang mga karanasan, and of course, mga payo niya sa ating mga atleta. Kasama na yung payo niya sa mga mukha ng sports ngayon para sa ating bansa. Kinakamusta lang po natin bago tayo mag-break, sila Nika Diquito, Becky Umagap, Rowex Orsolino, Angelo Redaha mula sa Malolos, Bulacan, Zyren Rebeta mula sa Isabela at si Renny Alegre mula sa Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat sa inyong patuloy na pagsubaybay. Kamusta rin sa aking kaibigan si Baltic, si Rene Baltasar na ngayon ay nanonood sa atin. Good morning, partner. Sana ay nasa maayos na naman ang iyong almusal. Magbe-break po muna tayo. Ang oras po natin, 23 minuto makaraan ng 9:00 ng umaga. Ito po ang Power and Play hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Loan. Nagbabalik po tayo ngayong Sabado ng umaga. Nga pala, yung kanina pinatanong ko kay producer Gab, sabi niya 1924 pala tayo huling unang pumasok sa Olympics. So sabi niyo mag-iisang daang taon na wala pa tayong gold medal. Ito na nga yung pagkakataon natin finally sa pamamagitan ng ating mga atleta. Irish Magno, si Yumir Marshall, EJ Obiena, si Kaloy Yulo, and of course yung mga papasok pa, Heidelin, at marami pa yung golfers natin kagaya na sinabi ni Nonong Araneta kanina. Hopefully, makakuha na tayo ng ating unang gold medal sa Olympiada. Alright, talking about the PBA, marami pa po tayong tinututukan sa mundo ng PBA. Of course, ang kanilang unang big event ay yung March 14 PBA Rookie Draft. Ito po ay ngayon may kabuuang 97 applicants. 97, although hihimayin pa yan, may mga kulang pa ang dokumento, lalong-lalo na yung mga field foreigners, no? So hinihimay pa yan ng PBA Commissioner's Office at malalaman natin ang final tally nila at the end of the month kasi binigyan ng konting extension itong mga players na mag-submit ng kinaukulang dokumento. So malalaman po natin, but still a bumper crop of rookie applicants. At dalawa po dyan ngayon ay ating makakasama. They have been flying under the radar, ika nga. Although hindi naman sila bagong pangalan. Maganda ang kanilang ipinakita sa kanilang maikling paglalaro sa Pilipinas at ngayon pong araw na to, kikilalanin natin dalawa pa sa blue chip rookie applicants ng PBA. Walang iba kundi si Taylor Statham at si Mikey Williams. Pakinggan niyo po sa Power and Play. You know, I was mentioning that it is a loaded draft. You know, this year we have 97 applicants, and many of those names are now being evaluated. Many of those names have had extensive experience. You two have many things in common. First of all, you both studied in Cal State. Of course, Mikey, you were in Fullerton. Taylor, you were in San Bernardino. You both played in the NBA G League, and of course, both of you came over to the Philippines because this is your mother's homeland. But today, we talk about the draft, and my question, and I'll begin with you, Mikey, is what tilted your decision to join the draft this year, considering how loaded it is during a post-pandemic or a pandemic year, so to speak?
I just felt like it was time to test it. You know, I took a long period of time in the Philippines. I played in the NPBL, little things like that, as well as with Mighty Sports. And I'm very comfortable out there in the Philippines, and I just think that it's the perfect time for it.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. The timing of everything right now, with the pandemic and then having my firstborn son, you know, I want him to be able to experience his roots. His mother's full Filipino as well. So yeah, it's just perfect time and everything seems to be lining up right now.
Congratulations, Taylor. That's terrific news. You know,
Thank you so much.
And starting your PBA career, hopefully, with the whole family, that is fantastic. Of course, both of you are still in California. How are your papers? You know, a lot of things have been asked about the Phil foreign players that are applying. Are your papers complete and have they been accepted by the PBA? I'll start with you, Taylor.
Yeah, so right now I'm just working with the PBA trying to make that deadline. My papers are pretty similar to a lot of guys, a lot of Filipino Americans in the draft right now. Just trying to meet their requirements. You know, a lot of people think it's really easy to get papers, but me and Mikey, I actually saw him this morning and we were laughing about, you know, just how hard the process has been. And, you know, what people really don't see, it takes years and years. So yeah, just trying to make sure I meet that deadline. So God willing that I can join the draft.
Mikey?
Yeah, my papers are pretty much good to go. Just trying to coordinate back and forth with my agent Marvin and then my paralegal that I have. But it's just been a long process, and the took a long time to get all these papers done and everything. So I'm just glad to be able to put my name in the draft and everything.
Let me just divert a little bit. Just on that, what is your stand with respect to that? Do you think that it is fair, considering that you guys clearly have Filipino mothers? They may have been, or they may have reverted or they may have taken U.S. citizenship before you were born, but still by blood. What is your stand on that, Taylor?
It is what it is. You can't complain. The rules have been around forever. It is a little lengthy, the process, and it's not the PBA's fault. It's just hard, going back and forth between the consulate here and immigration in the Philippines. And then on top of it, you have to think, Mikey and I have been playing pro basketball overseas for 6 years now, different countries. He's been in the G League year round. So, it's not as easy as people think, we can just fly to Manila and get them done like that. We're busy with our careers, with our relationships, with our families. It's a top priority for us. So every chance, we've gotten, I mean, it's funny because, I've seen Mikey 3 or 4 different occasions, we'll fly to the Philippines, be there for a little, and then, have to come back.
Well, go ahead, Mikey, go ahead.
Yeah, just to piggyback what Tay said, I mean, it's just a long process. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's nobody's fault, but I just feel like it could be a lot easier, But it just seems like, coming from the consulate out here to the consulate in the Philippines, it's just a lot of runaround when it comes to papers and having to get them done and everything.
Well, of course, it was during my term as PBA commissioner that we became a little stricter with those papers. And if there's anyone to blame, I guess it was during my term, because we were coming from a period where there were some Phil shams that they call, and better to be safe and straightforward with the documents. All right, we know that most of the games have been canceled all over the world. Of course, there are NBA games now being played, but they're still pretty strict with protocols over here. How have you been preparing for the PBA draft, or in terms of your keeping in shape and I guess keeping up with being in game shape, Mikey?
I have a little schedule that I go through. I mean, I was fortunate to have a gym that's close to me that's still open and it hasn't been closing. So, I mean, everything's pretty much open in LA, but I'm just finding ways to get after it. If it's running, going through agility, lifting, and then just finding time to get in the gym as well with everything that I got going on.
Yeah, and the same thing for me. Mikey and I have actually played some tournaments and, worked out quite a few times together. Up where I live, it's, a lot of things closed at first. So I was working out at a park. I run an academy also out here. So I train a lot of players. So, I had access to gyms when a lot of things were closed. And now that things are opening back up, just getting back to the weight room every day, being on the track, because when you're away from it, when it's all you do and it's all you know is to work hard, it's really hard to even take a week or just a few days off. So any way that we can get it, we're gonna find a way.
You will certainly need that, and obviously teams will be evaluating you for your skills. I don't know yet what the plans are with respect to the combine, but obviously teams are already looking at the way you're played in the G League. Do you think that this is an advantage in terms of this loaded draft when teams start to look at your credentials, Taylor?
Yeah, I think, the perfect example right now is if you look at the PBA bubble, the guys who were top 3 in the MVP race, Ray Parks, Matthew Wright, Stanley Pringle, all before they came to the PBA, they had experience overseas in multiple countries. So I think that really helped them, step into a strong role, not only skill-wise, IQ-wise, but just knowing how to lead and bringing a winning culture to, whoever drafted them. And that's, what we hope to do as well.
Yeah, and to piggyback on Tay, I mean, coming from the G League and getting that experience, you got the overall gist of being a professional and what it takes to really carry yourself and be a true person to the game, as far as studying and just learning the little things that you need to learn. It plays a big part in how you present yourself day in and day out on that court.
We know that the PBA is not only about, games, but it's also a way for companies to promote their products mostly. And that is obviously done through a huge fan base that basketball carries in this country. Now, is it a concern for you that the two of you did not go through the regular process of getting players to the PBA through the collegiate leagues here in the Philippines? And would it be a concern for any team that you did not get that kind of exposure when you were younger, Mikey?
I hope not. I pray that that they were able to see my talents in other places and really pay attention to just what I brought to the table. I mean, I'm very confident in what I do on the court and as well as off the court, and I just hope that my game speaks for itself.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what Mikey said, I think for both of us, college was an option out there. But I wouldn't trade, my journey for anything. Just being able to play day in and day out in different countries, and just play in different leagues and, have to learn different cultures, really helped me grow as a person, helped me grow as a player. And then being an import alongside other imports who played in the NBA, been in and out of the NBA, the G League, just really enhanced our skills and our IQ. And someone asked me the other day, what if you went straight to the PBA from college? And I told them, I don't think I would be ready like I am now. Because I wasn't the player I am. The last 5 years I've grown tremendously, and I know Mikey has as well. And these experiences have really shaped us into who we are. We're both 28 now, so we're kind of heading into the peak of our playing days. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess being more mature in your game is really more important than perhaps having a full fan base over here. And that will come in time. I guess your game will become the basis for growing a following here in the Philippines. But of course, now many people are wanting to know more about the two of you. So let me just talk a little bit about your childhood here. Where did you grow up, and when did you start playing basketball? And I guess who introduced you to the game? Taylor, I'll begin with you.
So I grew up in North Hollywood, California. My dad introduced me to the game. He was a basketball player. He held many scholarships, in his playing days. So some of my earliest memories, I remember him setting me up in a high chair, my stroller, and just watching him at parks, play all these great players and be super competitive. And then, when I finally started to fall in love with the game, he was coaching me. He played in college. My mom played in college. My aunt played in college. So basketball kind of runs deep in our family. My brother played in college as well before, going on to MMA and things like that.
No relation with Jason Statham, huh?
No.
All right. Mikey, go ahead.
Well, my father, he was a football player in college and high school. He was grooming me to be a quarterback, and I ended up picking up the game by myself late after school. I used to stay after school on the blacktop and just shoot endlessly. Like, my work ethic was crazy. And then I just fell in love with it from there. And
that's why he passes so well. His dad was trying to make him a quarterback.
Under that pressure, under that kind of pressure, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, man.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, you both have Filipino mom from Naga City, and of course, sir. Taylor, your mother comes from Iloilo, the province of Iloilo. So both of you are coming home to your mother's land. But growing up, did you grow up in a Filipino setting? Celebrate Filipino traditions, and I guess, do you eat Filipino food?
You want to go first, Mike?
Go ahead. Yeah. growing up, I was around a lot of my Filipino family members. We had a lot of get-togethers, a lot of barbecues and stuff like that. I mean, it was definitely different from my other side of the family, but I enjoyed it most. I mean, it was always good seeing them, and we always celebrated every year. Different little rituals, if I might say, like going to Chinatown, getting just little like money trees, little stuff like that, just little souvenirs every year.
Yeah, for me, I grew up around my Filipino family as well. My Tito Fred, my Tita Sandy, they were always around. It's funny because if you look at my cousin, he looks extremely Filipino, and I look extremely white. So every time, we would go to parties, they'd always be like, if we didn't know someone, they'd be like,
No way.
But yeah, it's actually funny because tonight, my dad, so he's full white. And he actually makes the best adobo. So he actually he made us adobo tonight. And, my girlfriend, my son, and I stopped by and grabbed some. So
Amazing.
That's the best dish right there. That's the best dish right there.
There you go. And you'll be eating a lot of that when you get here, Mikey.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I gotta love it.
But, in terms of that, how did you find out about the PBA? Did you learn? Did you know about the PBA growing up? And what were your thoughts about it? I'll start with you, Taylor.
I heard a little bit here and there. In college, I was invited to a couple Phil-Am All-Star games for college and pro players. So I kind of knew of it. And then once I got deeper into college, teams from out there and agents started messaging me. So, I started doing my research, and then, the basketball junkie I am, I wanted to know everything about it. So I learned about that. I learned about people's different paths. I was watching guys because San Miguel had a team in the ABL years ago. And then, I was just trying to find out everything I could so I could learn, while I was in college. So when I went out there, nothing was really a surprise, and I kind of knew the path that I wanted to take.
Yeah, my path is kind of the same as Tay's. I mean, it was forthcoming to me. I mean, my family in the Philippines would always mention it, like, "Oh, you should come here and play already. It would be a good opportunity for you." And then from there, I was fortunate to meet Manny Pacquiao after college, and he kind of started putting it more in my head, and that's kind of how I got stuck and really was like, I could do this, and now I'm doing it.
Well, you're a little bit late. 5 years late to have played against or with Senator Manny.
Yeah.
Taylor, just talking about the San Miguel team in the ABL, you're looking at the guy who actually formed the San Miguel beer in the ABL.
There you have it, man.
Oh, wow.
I started that program for San Miguel way back. Now, and when you look at, I guess, the PBA or other leagues, obviously there was some player that you idolized, you wanted to be like. Was there someone like that in your life? Was there someone that you were trying to pattern your career from, Mikey?
Growing up, I was fortunate I live right by Grant High School, so I was fortunate to catch a couple of Gilbert Arenas' games.
Oh,
and from there, I really just fell in love with his game and followed him as much as I could. I definitely, nitpicked here and there and tried to add some of his gifts into my game too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when I was a kid, I think that's when YouTube kind of first began. So I remember looking up every NBA player. I wanted to know all their stats, from the past. My dad was huge on, Wilt Chamberlain's the greatest player ever. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. So
yeah.
So that's all I grew up watching. Pete Maravich. And then as I got older, obviously modern day players. And as I found out about the PBA, I went to Cal State San Bernardino, and my coach had coached Jimmy Alapag. So I was trying to watch as much Jimmy Alapag as I could find.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Alapag is about 6-7 inches shorter than you.
Mighty Mouse.
But if you can get that kind of range and that kind of physicality, you'll go a long way in the PBA.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
It's the leader right there.
Exactly. So do I take it to mean that the two of you know each other even when you were younger? It's just not now?
I think we met.
Yeah, we met in college.
Yeah.
College.
Did you get to see each other's games or whatever?
No, we I think we were like in the rec or something. We were just playing 5-on-5 when we first
Yeah,
met.
he came up to my school and ran in some open gyms, but you know me, I was on Google. I was like, I wasn't as good at the time, so you know I was trying to catch him. So I knew who he was.
He's too modest. He's too modest.
and now you're trying to see who's going to be taking that pick away from you. So that's slot. No, but here you go. The reason why I asked that is because let's just pretend. Let's have a little bit of a game here. Let's just pretend it's draft day, and you're in the announcer's booth here, and the name of Mikey Williams is called in the first round. Taylor, how would you describe him in terms of the kind of player that he is? Taylor, go.
He is going to be one of the very few guys in the draft who's going to come in and make an immediate impact. I think the way he plays, he's proved himself. He averaged 17 a game in college. He averaged 17 a game in the ABL. He's a proven winner. He's played in the NBA G League, so he really has more experience than most players, even in the PBA. So I think he's the one guy who can really come in and he won't have too much of an adjustment.
Perfect. Excellent. Now, Mikey, same thing. The name Taylor Statham is called in the first round, and you're asked by the broadcaster, what can you say? What are the strengths of Taylor Statham? Go, Mikey.
Well, they're going to be getting a certified bucket. He can play 1 through 4, and he can do it all. Like, he has great IQ. He can pass the ball well, and he's just relentless when it comes to scoring the ball. Like, he's proven it overseas and everywhere he's played, and he's just a compliment player, and he could just do it all, and he's going to be ready to help and fill any void that's needed, if it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that's all that needs to be said.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it too, bro.
You know, if I'm a scout right now and I'm a coach, I'm excited. I'm already excited to enter the draft and write that name down, Statham and Williams on that paper. All right, but obviously you guys are young. You are both still on the up, and you're working on your game. If you are asked in an interview, what aspects of your game do you still think needs a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of work as you enter the pro league? What could it be, Mikey, for you?
For me, I think it's just being more vocal. There's times where I take, the back seat and I'll just sit here and be quiet because I'm a quiet guy most of the time. But people that know me, I don't shut up. But for me, it's being just a more vocal leader and just trying to get my team more involved and do the little things to just show people and lead people by example.
Excellent. Taylor?
I would have to say maybe my athleticism, just because it's not overwhelming. There's a couple guys in the draft who, really get up and dunk the ball consistently. And, I just think that's the one thing that doesn't blow people away and kind of, the people who don't really understand basketball, they may see that and be like, oh, he's not as good as him because, he's not athletic. So maybe instead of getting to my floater a bunch of times, if, I came down the lane 1 or 2 times and just threw it down, like when I was in college, it would kind of like, whoa.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
But I have watched you, and this question goes to you only, Taylor. I have watched you, of course, in Chooks to Go. I have seen, the kind of player you are. More than just the skills, I guess it's the heart. The physicality that you bring, and the need to just be a good teammate was clearly shown when you were playing in those tournaments, including the international ones. And that's something that I guess a lot of teams will be wanting. How physical it is in the PBA, and they want somebody who can dish it out as well and who can take it. So, do you think, Taylor, that the Chooks to Go program helped you in your career here in the Philippines?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think transitioning to 3x3 basketball, not only helped my game, but just the physicality, because that was a question mark when I was playing in Thailand. They're saying there's a lot of great players, but is it a physical league like the Philippines? And when I came to the Philippines, all of a sudden they were saying, oh, he's bullying people. He's bully ball. He's, you know, the toughest player. So I just feel like for me, I'm willing to do anything to win. And, you know, I'm willing to adjust my game, you know, to any kind of game. If it's more finesse, I'll be more finesse and skillful. If we got to get down and rough and tough, you know, and I have to hold my composure, you know, I'll do that. Because my first couple of years overseas, especially in the playoffs, you know how it is when teams are trying to win. They send a few guys off the bench to, you know, undercut you. And, you know, so I really had to get used to that. And I think it definitely helped me from a mental standpoint more than anything. And that's more important than anything physical.
Well, you will be feeling that. You will have to stay poised under so much pressure in the PBA. And, you know, if you can do that, include and bring out your game, you'll be a terrific asset for any team. Mikey, you know, I must admit that I have not seen your game. I have looked you up in YouTube, and I've seen so many wonderful things about you. But I think what stands out for me is what your former coach in Mighty Sports said, Charles Chu. He said that you are arguably the best player in the draft. Those are big words. And he compared you to the best player of the conference, Stanley Pringle.
Facts.
Your reaction, Mikey. Your reaction.
Stanley Pringle's a great player. I mean, you guys definitely see what he brings to the table. Day in and out, he's a bucket. And I feel like I could do the same thing, but I'm just going to let my game do the talking. I mean, I feel like there's a lot that I have to prove, a lot to the Philippines, and I think it's the best time to do it now.
Do you think you're number one pick? You deserve to be the number one pick, Mikey?
I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Taylor?
I would love to be, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Do you think you deserve to be number one pick, Taylor?
I mean, I honestly, sorry. Sorry about that. I honestly don't care where I go. I just want to go somewhere where the guys just want to win and are willing to lay it all on the line each and every night.
Well, you know, I want to end this interview with, you know, something personal. Both of you have said that part of the reason, part of your mission in trying to enter the PBA is because of your mother's wish. Yeah, for you, Mikey, it was your mother's desire for you to play for your country, for her country, in the PBA. And of course, Taylor, you've mentioned that as well, how big an influence your mother has been for you. Tell us, how important is this draft, and how important, or what does this mean to your family? I'll begin with you, Taylor.
This is extremely important. I feel like, you know, coming to the Philippines really helped me grow as a person. I mean, just much further than basketball. And then the relationship I have now with my girl and, you know, my son, I definitely want him to get that experience. Because I wouldn't be the same person if I hadn't gone to the Philippines and, you know, understood where my grandmother comes from and, you know, my mother's roots as well. And, you know, just seeing how proud I made them when I was representing the Philippines is just something, you know, I'll never forget. And being able to bring my whole family out here and have them watch me play. I think you were actually announcing one of the games. So, you know, they know exactly who you are. And, you know, it's just cool. Like every time there's a mock draft or anything, you know, my mom gets all excited and she's always sending them to me. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Mikey?
I think it's going to be a great experience. I mean, I was fortunate enough to bring my brother and my sister out my last time in the Philippines, and they really were soaking up everything, enjoying, and just trying to get the love for the Philippines like I have now. And it's definitely helped me as a person and helped me just further along my growth as being a better man as well. And I feel like this is a dream come true, and I know my mom's watching from above, and she's definitely happy with the decision I'm making now.
Terrific. Well, it's almost there. It's just a little over a month to go, and we're very excited for the two of you. Before I let you go, is there any team in particular that you think will need your skills most, or do you want to play for? Don't be shy. You know, a lot of the draft applicants who've appeared on this show have come out and said, we want to play for this team. I'll begin with you, Mikey.
I really don't have a preference. I mean, I just want to play for a winning team.
You're safe. You're being safe here.
I'm grateful for the opportunity, but
Come on, Mike. Who do you want to play for, man?
I want to play for the team that's been winning the most.
All right. Man. Let's go. All All right,
they're not stacked enough right now. Man. I don't know. Filipino fans are, man, there's nothing to compare them to. They are so amazing.
Right.
When I said I was going to enter the draft, just on Facebook alone, I had over 500 messages. So,
Wow.
I mean, people trying to say, oh, Alaska's going to get you, San Miguel's going to, never. I honestly, I just want to play somewhere where I can win, be happy and really, not only make my family proud, but work hard enough to create a legacy worth remembering.
Well, I think your family's proud of you now. Regardless of where you go, where you end up, your family, you and the PBA will most benefit for joining us in Power Play, and good luck in the draft.
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
us, man. I appreciate it.
Yan po mga kaibigan, ang napakasayang panayam natin kay Taylor Statham at kay Mikey Williams. Ito po yung dalawang pangalan na to. Tandaan nyo yan They will be very good players in the PBA. Taylor is a banger. Yan po kung maglaro yan, talagang dibdib sa dibdib. Wala hong inaatrasan yung batang yan. And I think he will be an asset on defense. He will be a terrific role player on offense. He gives very good screens. And he can score as well. He has range and he is quite strong para sa kanyang build. Si Mikey Williams, I've seen his tapes. Oh my goodness, ang bilis, ang gandang pumasa. His numbers are incredible, including sa G League, including sa college, and of course ABL. So kung may katotohanan ang sinasabi ni Coach Charles Chu, well, this guy could potentially be a number 1 pick. Ang daming magaling sa draft Andyan si Joshua Monzon, andyan si Jamie Malonzo. Ang napakarami, and I think Mikey just put his name just around that top 3, top 5 names na pagpipilian ng mga taga-PBA. Alright, at this point, bago tayo magtapos, gusto ko lang pong batiin ang kaibigan ni Taylor Statham, actually, na si Nico Yovienko na nanonood sa atin ngayon. Si Nico ay nagsasapit din ng kanyang birthday today. Happy birthday, Nico. Welcome back. Galing si Nico sa New York and he's just so happy to be back here. Of course, with his dad, ang aking kaibigan, si Romel Yovienko. Magandang umaga, partner. Nagpapabati din nga pala, Mel. Ito, kasabay mo. Si Ingrid Mendoza. Naks naman. Good morning, Mare. Good morning, Ingrid. And of course, ang aking kaibigan, si Tita Tina Tan. Good morning, Tita Tina, na nanonood din sa atin ngayon pong umagang ito. Doon sa mga mahihilig sa NBA, there is a 9-game schedule today. So far, ang Pelicans lamang sa Pacers, ang New York naghahabol sa Magic. Ang magandang laban ngayon na ating tututukan mamaya ay yung Boston-LA Clippers. Naku, ang gandang laban yan. Panoorin po niyan sa Signal TV, of course, at lahat po ng mga channel ng Signal TV. Alright, so, tapos na tayo. Susunod po sa amin, Inay Ko Po with MJ Marfori and Pat Fernandez. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga naging guest natin ngayon and of course lahat po sa inyo na nanonood sa atin ngayong araw pong ito. Ingat-ingat lagi mag-face mask, mag-face shield, maghugas ng kamay. Pataas pa rin ang mga kaso, wag po tayo magpapabaya. At lagi po nating sinasabi, tuwing Sabado, bawal ang masungit. And of course, lahat po ng ating gawain ad maiorem Dei gloriam, all for the greater glory of God. Happy Sports Weekend, mga kapatid. More power, more play.